What's going on YouTube? Diddy here, and I am excited to be bringing you yet another Pokemon trading card game online deck analysis and example matches. Today, I'm doing something a little bit different, and I'm actually taking a look at the recent Pokemon World Championships winning deck, Jacob Van Wagner's Deluge, Blastoise, and Keldeo EX deck. So, at least those are two of the Pokemon, and I'm not exactly sure how to categorize it because there's so many potential ways to do massive amounts of damage with this deck to your opponent's deck. So as we approach the rotation here, I wanted to take one last look at this deck before a number of the cards from this deck are rotated out of the current standard format, though I do think that this deck has lots of competitive potential even in the expanded format. So if you're excited to take a look at this deck with me and see how it works in the Pokemon trading card game online, if you were unable to catch the World Championships, or if you just want a refresher or to see me use it, throw some love to that like and subscribe button down below. I really appreciate all of your comments and the likes and the subscribing. The channel seems to be doing really well. I'm at least really pleased with how it's turning out. So I want to keep that going. So feel free to keep doing what you do, YouTube. So having said all that, let's take a look at the cards in this deck, which I think is just a really, really cool strategy and very flexible. So really excited about this one, guys. So you're probably familiar with some of these cards, but again, I think it's worth kind of going over all of them in conjunction just so you can see just how well they all work together. I'm going to first take a look at the Keldeo EX just because that's probably the primary attacker that you'll be using with this deck. So if you're familiar with Keldeo EX, then this might be overkill, but basically it's a basic Pokemon with 170 HP. It has the amazing ability Rush In, which once during your turn allows you to rush this Pokemon in to be your active, switching out whatever you previously had as your active Pokemon, which is great because if you attach the Float Stone to it, which we are running one copy of here, it gives you free retreat basically, and you can switch out your Pokemon whenever you want, which is incredibly powerful. Now, the attack that you're going to be using is the Secret Sword attack, which does 50 damage for 3 colorless energy, but for each water energy you attach to your Keldeo EX, you're going to be doing 20 more damage. So, if you only attached 3 water energies to the Keldeo EX, you're going to be hitting for not 50, but 70, 90, 110 damage right there. So that's quickly approaching a substantial amount of damage, and enough that you're actually going to get one-hit knockouts on a lot of Pokemon once you attach a few more energies to it. So basically the way this deck is going to work is that you're going to be using either Keldeo EX or the Mewtwo EX with the X-Ball attack, which does 20 damage times the number of energy attached to both active Pokemon, to be doing massive amounts of damage with all of the energies that you're running in this deck, aka the 11 water energies. Now, the way that you're going to get all those energy attachments is by using this Blastoise with the Deluge ability, which as often as you like during your turn, before you attack, you may attach a water energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So basically you want to have a bunch of water energies in your hand, and you want to be able to use this Deluge ability to attach them to one of your Keldeo EXs or your Mewtwo EX to deal a substantial amount of damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, essentially ensuring that you always get one-hit knockouts, ideally. Just a toolkit card we're running here. You've got the Articuno with the Delta Plus ability here, which is a basic Pokemon with 120 HP, which allows you to take an additional prize card for every KO that you get with this. It's got a couple attacks. The Chilling Side attack is useful if you're trying to slow down your opponent, if they are, if you didn't draw into the cards that you need, or if you just are lagging behind a bit. You can use the Chilling Side to put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. No coin flips involved, just straight up putting them to sleep can be very useful if they don't end up waking up. It also has the Tri-Edge attack for 2 water and 1 colorless energy. It does 20 damage, but you flip 3 coins, and it does 40 more damage for each head. So if you're flipping 3 heads, you're doing an additional 120 damage, which puts you at 140. So you're probably not going to be trying to use that attack very often because you don't want to rely on coin flips, but it does exist if you want to use it for any reason. And if you manage to get those coin flips and knock out your opponent's Pokemon, you can draw into 2 prize cards or 3 if it's a Pokemon EX. So not altogether that bad. You're familiar with these cards, the Shaman EX and the Jirachi EX if you've watched my other videos, but for the sake of consistency, you might as well explain them. Jirachi EX with the Stellar Guidance ability allows you to draw into a supporter when you play it onto your bench. Very useful toolkit card. The Shaman EX allows you to draw up to 6 cards in your hand when you play it onto your bench with the Setup ability. So both those cards are basically going to just function as supporter cards, allowing you to draw onto a supporter or onto additional cards in your hand, trying to keep your momentum going in the match. So we're running 2 copies of each of those. We're also running 1 copy of the Wailord EX. Now, Whaler DX can be pretty frustrating to play against just because of its massive 250 HP, but it has the Water Veil ability, which when you attach an energy card from your hand to this Pokemon, you can remove all special conditions from it. And it has the High Breaching attack for 5 water energies. You can hit for 120 damage, but it causes your Whaler DX to knock out itself, or excuse me, to put itself to sleep. So basically, this works well with the rest of the deck because even though it requires 5 water energies to attack, you have the flexibility to constantly attach tons of water energy to your Pokemon, so that's not going to be particularly troublesome. And since you're going to be attaching water energies ideally every turn, the Water Veil ability will heal you of that, or cure you of that sleep that you self-induced, and then you can continue attacking with it. So this can be handy. I don't foresee us using it particularly often, but it could be useful, as well as using this as potentially a basic Pokemon while you're trying to get your Blastoise out onto the field and getting stuff set up. Since it has 250 HP, it's going to be pretty challenging for your opponent to knock it out, and that'll give you a little bit more time to get things going. Basically, though, the rest of the cards in the deck are designed specifically so that you are able to discard cards from your hand and to draw onto cards that you need. The reason for this is that, as you can see, we're not running a Squirtle or the Wartortle necessary to get this Blastoise out via evolution. So the only way that we can actually play the Blastoise is to use Archie's Ace in the Hole, a supporter card that works really well with this deck. You can only play it when it's the last card in your hand, but it allows you to put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench and draw 5 cards. So if you're able to do that, it's very, very powerful. And ideally, well, and not ideally, but practically, you're actually going to be able to do this all the time because all of the cards in this deck allow you to discard cards from your hand and get it to be get the Archie's Ace in the Hole to be the last card remaining in your hand. So let's go over those cards. We're running 2 copies of the Execute with the Propagation ability, which allows you to, if it's in your discard pile, to put it into your hand. So this is a card that you don't mind discarding because you can always draw it back the next turn. So essentially, you have 2 of these cards that you will, if you can get them into your discard pile, which you definitely will be able to, you can always put back into your hand to mediate the number of cards that you're discarding each turn so that you can play that Archie's Ace in the Hole. We're also running 4 copies of the Battle Compressor, which allows you to search for 3 cards and put them into your discard pile. So you draw a Battle Compressor turn 1, put both those Executes in your discard pile, as well as a Blastoise, and then potentially you're going to be able to use some of these other these other cards that I'm about to describe to you. 2 discard cards, you can use the Propagation, put those back in your hand if you need to control how many cards you want to discard, and then you can use the Archie's Ace in the Hole to get that Blastoise from your discard pile onto your bench, so you can use the Deluge ability to start doing massive amounts of damage with any of those basic Pokemon that you draw onto. So this can be a pretty quick deck once you get it going. So having said that, we'll describe the Acro Bike. This allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and to put one of them into your hand, and you can discard the other card. So again, another way you can discard some cards that you don't need in your hand necessarily. We're running 1 copy of the Computer Search. As the rotation is about to take effect, we are going to make use of this Computer Search. So you can discard 2 cards and draw a card, any card you want. Great discard method here. We're running 4 copies of the Trainer's Mail, which allows you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, grab a trainer card from there, and put the rest of your cards back into your deck and shuffle it. So use the Trainer's Mail, maybe you could draw into Superior Energy Retrieval or an Ultra Ball, discard some more cards, etc. Speaking of Superior Energy Retrieval, this allows you to discard 2 cards from your hand, and then you can put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. So another way that this works out nicely is if you use a Battle Compressor to, say, put 3 water energies in your discard pile, and you were able to draw onto some energy cards or something, wrong button there. You can discard 2 cards, and then put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand, which you can then use the Deluge ability to put onto your Pokemon. So if this sounds complicated, don't worry, it should become pretty apparent once we get going with the actual match. The rest of the supporters are pretty straightforward. We are running 4 copies of the VS Seeker, 4 copies of the Ultra Ball, I think I forgot to mention those, 1 N, 2 Junipers, 2 of the Rough Seas as a stadium card, particularly nice as it allows us to heal all of our water Pokemon that we're running in this deck by 30 HP each turn, and to counteract our opponent's stadiums that they might play. Again, the 1 Floatstone, just going to allow us to shuffle around our Pokemon, since we will always have a Keldeo EX on the bench, hopefully with the Floatstone, to switch things around. So if you want to use the Mewtwo EX, then switch back to a Keldeo EX, for example. Fair game. I suppose you could also use the Blastoise's Hydro Pump to attack. I forgot to mention that, but for 4 energy, it does 60 damage plus an additional 10 for each water energy attached to the Blastoise. So this is, again, definitely synergizes well with the rest of the deck. So definitely worth mentioning as well. 1 copy of the Muscle Band just for some additional damage output if we're attacking with, say, a Mewtwo EX. And then those 11 water energies that we have there, rounding out the deck at 60 cards. So, my opponent ended up surrendering there. A bit unfortunate because I was really hoping to show off just how effective the deck is. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and find a second match here on the Pokemon trading card game online. Hopefully, this time around, my opponent will not surrender and we are able to get the victory and actually show off the effectiveness of this deck, because my opponent is running a fire, water, and normal type deck. So, bit interesting there. I would like to go first. Thanks very much. Unfortunately, I didn't have any basic Pokemon in my hand here, and unfortunately, I'm forced to start off with the Shaman EX as my active, negating having that setup ability. Quite unfortunate there, but I digress. Looks like I do have a Blastoise in my hand, an Ultra Ball. What I like to see there, that is good. My opponent running the Kyurem and a Larvesta. Okay, so I'm going to see probably that Larvesta evolve into a Volcarona. I do have the Wailord in my hand. I could play. I might as well, just to thin out the number of cards in my hand. I'm going to use the Battle Compressor. For now, I'll just click an energy, but there's probably a better Pokemon that I'd like to have. I mean, I'll grab onto 1 to 2 Execute if they are here. Looks like both Execute are here, fortunately. Was there another Blastoise with the Deluge ability? Yes, there was. So, again, I'm going to just discard the Blastoise and the Execute right off the bat here. Now, I'm going to use the Ultra Ball, discard this Blastoise, and I think a Water Energy here. Going to draw onto the Keldeo EX, which I will then play onto the bench and use the Shaman EX to draw onto 5 more cards. Excellent, we got the Floatstone, like to see that. Use the Acrobike here. I haven't used a supporter yet, I don't believe. As I have not, that's very good. So what I will do is grab onto the Jirachi EX, because I might be able to use the Archie's Ace in the hole this turn. I'm not entirely sure, depending on what I am able to grab with the Trainer's Mail. I'm actually going to grab the Superior Energy Retrieval, because that allows me to discard 2 cards. So if I play the Battle Compressor and put some more stuff in my discard pile, then I can use the Superior Energy Retrieval to discard the Lysander and the VS Seeker, draw onto, this would allow me to discard 4 basic, or draw 4 basic energies, but I only have 1 here, so I would be able to play that, then use the Archie's Ace in the hole to get the Blastoise out here and turn onto 5 prize cards, to draw onto 5 prize cards. That was a little convoluted there, so I will use the Battle Compressor. I think I'll just discard the Articuno. I don't foresee myself, well, I might want to keep it out, just in case, but I do need to discard something, so maybe I'll just discard a Battle Compressor, and I don't want to add another energy because I'm only able to play 1. And if I did discard another water energy, then it would be forced to bring it back with the Superior Energy Retrieval. So going to go ahead, discard the VS Seeker and the Lysander, grab onto that water energy, going to rush in, attach that water energy to the Keldeo, use the Jirachi EX, search for the Archie's Ace in the hole, which I will now play because I can attach this Blastoise, bring it out into the bench, draw into 5 cards, play the Rough Seas. I do have a Water Energy in my hand as well. I'll use the Acrobike. Might as well grab onto one of the 2 VS Seekers that I find there. And then I have the Deluge ability, so I will attach a Water Energy to my active Keldeo EX. And I could actually retreat here. I think that might be the right decision. Out into the Wailord EX just so he is unable to get it going. But unfortunately, my opponent's just going to concede once again, seeing just how overwhelmingly powerful this deck is. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and end it there because the chances of an opponent actually letting me use Jacob Van Wagner's deck to stomp all over them seem to be very slim. So if you liked looking at the strategy here, since I was able to get it going twice, feel free to go ahead and throw that like, comment, subscribe down below. I really think that this deck is particularly expedient, and I look forward to making future decks similar to this in the future if I can come up with a combo as efficient as this. So, question of the day, I don't know if I really have one. What's your favorite water-type Pokemon? Sure, I guess, I don't even know what mine is. I really like Melodic. Keldeo, I think, is cool too. Blastoise, I shouldn't just pick Pokemon that are in the deck that I just built, but anyway, I'll leave you with that. Feel free to, comment, etc. down below. I am Diddy. Thanks so much for watching Diddy XT's videos here, and I will see you next time. Later.